Desert School. They have a very special guest speaker today, a 93-year-old Holocaust survivor who's going to be speaking to them. And this has to do with part of what they're learning in history class. So the 8th grade class is coming in, and here they come, marching in. This is a special treat today because normally 8th grade goes to a Holocaust museum, and so they're doing things differently this year by having someone come to them.
Almost 45 years ago, more than 45 years ago, I met my father-in-law and met my wife, and his story is one that is very, very significant to our family, because just like everyone else, your history really sometimes forms who you are, how you act, and how you see the world. His story is one of a similar childhood that was taken away from him, and when it was taken away from him, everything changed in his life. And he speaks regularly to groups like you, the 8th graders here, and also to the Museum of Tolerance in Los Angeles, the Holocaust Museum, and has done a lot of talking. He just finished his autobiography that was sent to Yad Vashem, which is the Holocaust Museum in Jerusalem, and it is being edited and it will be published. So without me talking too much and giving him the actual stage, I want to introduce my father-in-law, David Lenga, and a Holocaust survivor who has been interviewed by the Spielberg Project, and also is someone who has an interesting story that I know you will understand fully at the end of this talk. My father-in-law, David Lenga.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Well, as my son-in-law just told you, my name is David Lenga. I was born in the city of Lodz in Poland. The city of Lodz is the second largest city in Poland. And I had a younger brother. My mom and I, and my brother and I, our family had an extended family of close to 100 people on both sides of my parents' sides. And by the time the Holocaust ended, only 2 people survived, myself and my dad. Everybody else was murdered by the Nazis. So let me start by saying that I was not born into
The other speaker's still
I was not born into the Holocaust. I was born at a time of peace in 1927, and I had a very good, wonderful childhood. I was a good student as I was growing up. I became bilingual at a very, very early age. My two languages that I spoke as a child were Yiddish and Polish, because I lived in Poland. We had a vibrant Jewish community. We observed all the Jewish holidays. We had very many friends. I attended public schools. I was a very good student. I also attended religious schools because my parents wanted to make sure that I get a religious education as well. And in September 1939, I was going to have delivered some debt that my mother owed to someone, and I went on a streetcar to do this. And while we were driving, while the streetcar was going on, 15 minutes into the ride, everything suddenly stops. And all the people start panicking. And the city sirens came on, blaring, alarming me. Everybody knew what that meant. What it meant is that everybody has to look for shelter. So people were running out of the streetcar, all the traffic stopped, people were running for shelter, and before they had a chance to get out of this streetcar, an armada of German planes came down on the civilian population, and they were strafing with machine guns the civilian population indiscriminately. That was the attack that we experienced the first time on September the 1st, 1939, when Germany attacked Poland, and that was the start of the Second World War. I was 11 years old at that time. I was panicked like everyone else, and I witnessed something that nobody ever should ever witness, especially 11-year-olds. It was a river of blood immediately after the attack. Body parts were flying, people were screaming, running for shelter, and no one could understand what has happened, because it's unprecedented. Never in history have any nation attacked another population, civilian population. The attack happened between armies on the battlefield. Women and children and elderly were always sheltered by the enemy, even. But this was a break of tradition, a break of international law, and it was just plain murderous intimidation of the population. The way it was done, we were attacked. At 11 years of age, after this attack happened, I was only having one thing in mind, to go back home as soon as I can, back to my parents. It was very difficult because I didn't dare to go back to the main roads. I didn't know if the armada is going to make a return and come back and attack again. So I was trying to find my way through the alleys, through fences, through different shortcuts in the roads, and the roofs, and whatever. And when I finally came home in the middle of the day, my house that I lived in was shuttered. The windows were shut in the middle of the day. And the people were already heard on the radio that Poland was attacked. When I knocked on the door and my father was frantically opening it and drew me in, and he said to me, "What happened? I just heard on the radio that you were attacked. What happened? You were there, out on the street," and I told him. And at that point he became very solemn. He sat us down, myself, my brother, and my mom, and he said, "We are now entering a time of such great uncertainty and fear and danger that we don't know if we're going to survive this attack. We don't know if we're going to survive this war. But whatever happens next is we need to have to stay close to each other and look for comfort for each other." One thing that happened immediately, which was significant, was that you have to understand that Poland was always a very fertile land. We were totally self-sufficient in food. Poland was a net exporter of food for the rest of Europe. We had so much of an abundance of everything. Nobody ever went hungry. But when that attack happened, almost immediately, within days, there was a tremendous shortage of food. The stores closed up, the farmers wouldn't sell their products, everybody was hoarding whatever they had, and the people started really feeling the hunger setting in. And it was a very dark, terrible, uncertain time. And my father was a manufacturer. We had a tannery in the little city of Stirkov, which was a small town south of the main city of Lodz where we lived. And in that city we were quite known because we were the largest employer there. And so about 3 weeks into this, since the attack happened, and Germany occupied Poland with their hundreds and thousands of tanks, artillery and soldiers occupying physically the country, and immediately they started intimidating the people. They erected gallows on all the plazas of the city, and they are snatching randomly innocent men on the street, particularly Jewish men. And they hung on them signs that said that I was a thief, I was a robber, I was a criminal. All kinds of libel that was totally unfounded, that was totally false, and they hung them in the presence of the civilian population, which they forced the population to witness. I had to be there with my brother, my younger brother, my mom and dad, along with all our neighbors and everyone else, watching, witnessing, hanging innocent people. I couldn't wrap my head around this atrocity. I couldn't understand why it's happening. I was too young to understand. And my parents had a hard time explaining to me. 3 weeks after the attack, a jeep stops in front of our house with 3 SS men, the feared German stormtroopers, come out from the jeep with machine guns drawn, and they come straight to our door, and they were knocking frantically on our door. Open up, they said in German. Open! My father and my mom and I, my brother, we saw what's happening. We froze totally stiff. We didn't understand why us and what happened. But my father was speaking a very good German. He spoke several languages actually. So he opened the door and he said to the German soldier, he says, Jawohl, he says, was kann ich tun für Sie? Okay, what can I do for you? And the German soldier said to my dad, are you Abraham Lenga? And my dad says, well, yes. He says, you come with us. And he was stunned. He says, why? I didn't do anything. Why me? Never mind. Don't ask questions. You come with us right now, as you are. And so he turned to my dad, turned to my mom, and he said, Sarah, I have to go now. I'll be back as soon as I can. And he left. And my brother and I, we clung to our mother's skirt in total fear. My mom was petrified. We were frantic. We didn't know what happened. My dad was taken away to the German Gestapo headquarters. So the Gestapo is the acronym for German secret police, like FBI here. They interrogated him, and they told him in no uncertain terms, we know that you are the owner of a tannery in Stirkov, the factory, and we are here to tell you that as of this moment, you are no longer the owner of the factory. This factory has been confiscated by the Third Reich, by the German Commonwealth, and you will be required to work for us, for the German army, produce leather and goods and fur, and we will supply the raw materials, and you and your family will be working for the German Reich from here on. And you have to relocate from where you are in Lodz to the city of Stuttgart. And they let him go. He came home. And also my dad had presence of mind. He said to them, realizing that he is powerless, he can do nothing about the situation, he said to them, I would like to take my family with me if I have to go away. And they said, okay, they granted him the wish. So my mom and I, my grandmother that were with us, my mom's mom, and my younger brother, we were taken 3 days later on a truck, with German soldiers, taken away from our home. We were not allowed to take with us anything except that we had on our backs, and we were transported to the city of Stuttgart, where we had a factory. There we were assigned a place where to live, a vacant house that was evidently taken away from some other family. And immediately the Germans started persecuting the Jewish population by erecting what became a ghetto, a quarter which was totally circumscribed as to a perimeter where Jews may live and work, and from which area we were not allowed to get out without permission by the German authorities. So even though immediately there were no erected wires surrounding the ghetto or fences, but we were still in a ghetto. And so there, my dad was told by the German authorities, by the commander, that he can requisite any labor that this factory needs from the Jewish population in the ghetto. And so my dad requested 50% more labor than we actually needed, because he knew that as long as people are employed, they will be safe, their life will be safe. And so we moved into the ghetto in Stuttgart, and we worked there for 2 years. It became very unbearably hard because the German authorities had their plan to actually exterminate the Jewish people slowly, not all at once, because they needed their labor. And so they utilized that labor to get the most out of it. And so everybody had to work. The food was rationed. Everybody was undernourished because we were underfed deliberately. We were deprived of the amount of nutrition we needed. A lot of disease happened. People got sick. There was no doctor, no medicine, nothing. We looked at the horrendous conditions. And after 2 years of labor for the German army, they decided, for whatever their own reasons were, to eliminate all the small town ghettos, take the population out and transport them into the larger, more productive ghettos, like the ghetto in Lodz or Warsaw. So they ordered all the Jews to report to the cemetery of that little small town of Stuttgart. And there we were waiting to get further orders what is going to happen next. We were kept in the dark for 3 days and 3 nights in that cemetery. Families, older people, sick people, people that were infirm, very young, very old. Everybody was huddled together on the cemetery waiting for 3 days and 3 nights without food, without water, without hygiene, without a place where to alleviate himself. It was hell on earth. And this is where we stood. This is where we waited. After 3 days, trucks came and they started making a selection. So people had to stand up in line, men, women, old, young, standing in line, and in front of the line was a German officer or a soldier, and he was directing with his tongue who is going to live and who is going to die. So the ones that were told to go to the right, they were going to larger ghettos to work. They were able-bodied. The ones that they consider not able-bodied, like 2 small children or 2 old person or infirm or sick, they go to the left and they were destined to be taken to extermination camps in other parts of Poland and be actually executed, murdered. The population didn't know those things, those ramifications, because no one told them ahead of time what is going to happen. Everybody was kept in the dark. But we knew that something horrendous is happening because rebels were torn apart. And so I wound up in the Lodz ghetto with my mom and my younger brother and my grandma. We were assigned to the Lodz ghetto, a place where to live. We were squeezed in, 2 families in a small apartment. And we had to work every day because each one was assigned a place where to work. I was at that time already about 12 or 13 years old, and I was assigned to work in a clothing factory. What the Germans did, they converted the largest hospital in the city, a 4-story massive building, converted it into a clothing factory, and thousands of people were employed there. I was one of them. I was very fortunate in that sense that the supervisor of that entire factory happened to be my father's older brother, my uncle. He was before the war a very renowned couturier, a very renowned clothes producer for the high and mighty and for all those people of the elite. And so they made him supervisor of the factory. And he took me under his wings. After my mom pleaded with him to do something, she says, my boy, he says, he cannot go to school. He's deprived of his childhood. He has no education at this point. And he needs to do something. You need to do something for him to give him a means to stand on his own feet eventually. Teach him a trade, teach him something. So my uncle taught me to become a tailor in the factory, in the Lodz ghetto. And I was really very apt at it evidently because I really learned it very quickly. And within a year, I already knew how to make an entire suit by myself. Unprecedented. At the age of 14, I had a trade that saved my life later on. And so, that very same year, when we were transported from Stryków to the Lodz ghetto, that was in 1942, the ghetto of Lodz was already an established ghetto. They had fenced around with barbed wire. They had towers every few feet with soldiers, men and machine guns trained on the population. There were guards with dogs, with huge teeth that were ready to tear you apart like German shepherds. And no one could possibly escape their clutches. We were trapped. But we had to work every day, or if we wanted whatever meager rations it gave us, we had to work every day to even have that. Tremendous hunger set in. People were starving to death. Little children were dying on the street. Their bellies were swollen from starvation. Horror was an everyday sight. And I, as a young boy, and my brother, we had to witness all this like everybody else. And we could not understand it because we were the victims as well. We were also starving, we were also emaciated. So in 1942, something happened that the Germans knew about that we did not know, which was that they were losing tremendous battles in the east, in Russia. The Battle of Stalingrad, the Battle of Leningrad, they lost those battles. Thousands and thousands of soldiers on both sides died, but the Russians got the upper hand, and they started pressing towards the west, towards Germany. And so Germany at that point decided to eliminate the ghetto of Lodz and to transfer the able-bodied population, including all the machinery, the industry and everything, back to Germany proper. And at that point, they proclaimed with signs, plastic all over the ghetto, and they ordered the people to be ready to leave the ghetto because the ghetto is being eliminated. And all the population that is able-bodied has to report to German authorities on a certain given day, district by district, and you'll be taken to Germany proper in labor camps where we're going to continue our work there. And we have to do this by the threat of death if we don't comply with their demand. So obviously, everybody was scared. People in our apartments line up on the streets in long rows, men, women, and children, everyone there. And she says, you know, I don't want to live this way. They took my children away, and my mom's sister says, well, don't do it. Don't do it, Sarah. She says, try to figure it out another way. She says, well, what other way? He says, go talk to your brother-in-law, the one that is in charge of the factory, of the clothing factory. He knows a lot of people. He's a man of influence. Maybe he can pull some strings. Maybe he can talk to somebody. Maybe he can free your children. So she went to him, and she asked him, please help my kids. They just took them away. I cannot live this way. And he says, Sarah, I am just a lonely Jew just like you and everybody else, and I have no power over the German Nazis, over their policies. I have no power to affect anything. And so she left him. She was despondent, and she reported back to the SS line, and she said to them, you took my children away, you took my husband away, I don't want to live this way, I want to be where they are, whatever happens to them happens to me. And they were obliging, they took her in, and they took her away. And when I came back, oh, wait a minute, in this warehouse there, evidently something happened during my mom's visit with my uncle, because somebody, maybe my uncle himself, must have talked to somebody in power, somebody that had influence, because all of a sudden, out of all the people in that warehouse, I hear my name being called. David Lenga, report on the front door, on a bullhorn. And when I heard it, I was like stunned, and I said to my brother, did you hear that my name was called? He said, yeah, absolutely, loud and clear. And I said, wonder what they want. So I said to my brother, you sit right here, I'll be right back, let me just find out what they want. So I go to the front door, and at the front door, this burly, very menacing man stood there and he looks at me and says, are you David Lenga? And I said, yeah. And he opens the door with a crack and he says to me, get the hell out of here, run for your life, run back to the ghetto, don't even look back. And I said, wait a minute, I've got my brother here, I want him to come with me. Never mind your brother, he said, we'll take care of him, you just run. And so I ran back to the ghetto, and the first thing that I looked for was for my mom. And she was not there. When I came to my apartment, all I could find was my aunt, my mom's older sister. And I said, where's Mom? And she knew what was happening, but she wouldn't tell me right away. I was very, very frightened and very despondent. And she saw it. And she said, David, you need to calm down, sit down. It's okay. She says, she's probably looking for you. She'll be back. She tried to calm me. I didn't believe her exactly, but I had no choice. I sat down, and I was waiting for her to come back. Hours passed by, nothing happened. She didn't come back. I got very anxious, and I stopped yelling at my aunt. I said, you need to level with me. What happened to Mom? She's not coming. And then at that point, she broke down and she told me the truth. She says, your mom reported back to the line because when they took her, you and your brother away, she was left alone. She didn't want to live this way, and she reported back. She wants to be back there where her children are. Whatever happens to them, happens to her. They took her away. And at that point I knew that I would never see my mom again. I didn't know exactly what they were going to do with her or what's going to happen. But I had this almost horrendous feeling that I'll never see her again. At the age of 14, I found myself totally orphaned in the ghetto. I was totally orphaned at age 14. I had no mom, no dad, no brother, no relative. Everybody was taken away from me. Anyone that I loved, everybody that was close to my heart, everybody I grew up with that I cherished, was all taken away. So the world became a very bleak, dark place for me. I became so despondent, I became so enraged, I became so depressed, I became suicidal. And my aunt noticed it in me. One day, in my state of mind, I went up to a third floor building, an abandoned building, 2 blocks away from where I lived. And I tried to pry open the window on the 3rd floor, so I wanted to jump down and kill myself, because I had nothing to live for. Life ended for me when my mom was taken away. And just as I was trying to pry open that window, I feel somebody grabbing me by the scruff of my neck and pulling me back. It was my aunt. Wait, there was a hole where I could hide in case they find me or they discover me. And so one day I was scavenging during the night for food because I hadn't eaten. I couldn't. Everybody left, and I seemed to be the only one left in the bedroom. I couldn't find any food because I couldn't find shore items for anyone. I couldn't do it during the daytime. So I did scavenge during the nighttime. Those places that were abandoned, there were little scraps of food to be found still where people left in a hurry. And this was the way I nourished myself for a while. But then one day I found a whole potato. Oh my God, I was so thrilled. So I figured, okay, that's just golden diamonds. I tried to cook it during the middle of the day. And we didn't have gas or electric ovens. We had to cook by wooden cylinders. And when I lit that wood and I tried to cook my potatoes, the black smoke in the chimney showed up, and the Germans saw this, and they converged on the building, screaming and yelling with their dogs. I said, Murderous! I was looking deep. I said, Murderous! You find a Jew there, it's high enough, let's go together. And I heard the scream, and I heard the yell, and I became petrified. And the first thing I did, I left everything from the stove there with the potato cooking, and I just ran up to that building where I had this hiding place, and I hid myself in that hole there under the rafters. And the Germans came closer and closer with their dogs, and I was petrified, still, I didn't dare to breathe. And I was expecting the worst to happen to me. And as they were coming in, inside the building, they were already on the first floor, then on the second floor, and then something miracle happened. At that moment, the air raid sirens of the city started blaring again. And the German soldiers had a stern order that if the air raid sirens are coming on, they need to seek shelter, drop everything, and look for shelter, go to the bunkers. And so they left everything with their dogs, and they ran out of the building, and it saved me. It saved me, that moment. I stood there inside that hole for many hours away from the night. I didn't dare to show myself, but eventually, when it was all quiet and when I went to bed, I came back out, and I realized that I was all by myself in the entire gallery. And I didn't know what to do next. It came a point where I was not scavenging. There was nothing else to scavenge. I was not able to sustain myself. And so in my desperation, I looked out through the kitchen window, looking for some ways out. I didn't know what to do next. And I saw a strange sight in front of me. On the sidewalk, there were a whole bunch of men walking, dressed in white, with brooms in their hands, sweeping the sidewalk. I didn't understand what was happening. So in my desperation, I sneaked out, and I pulled the last guy on of this man dressed white. I pulled him by his coat, and I said, "Excuse me, who are you? What are you doing here? What is this?" And they said, "We are the White Guard." And I said, "What's the White Guard?" And they said, "Well, the Germans left a contingent of us Jews in the ghetto to clean up, so that whoever comes in next shouldn't see the mayhem that they've created." What did I do? They tried to clean up the mess that they created in case somebody was coming in like another invader. And I couldn't understand it, but I didn't ask questions. I said, you know what, I was desperate. I said, I'll join you. I'll be part of you. Give me a room. I'll also swim beside you. So they gave me a room and I had to get part of their group. And we started swimming beside them. And after the day was over, we were gathered together and we were taken to a holding place where they gave us some watery soup because they still need us alive. And eventually, we were taken away after a few days and we were transported to Germany proper in cattle cars. No roofs, no windows in those cars, squeezed together like sardines. No water or food was given to us, no use of a toilet or anything to alleviate yourself. It was really living hell there. And so we were transported and the train was going, days seemed on end, such a long time, but eventually it stopped. And when it stopped, the doors slammed over and on the tarmac I could see a swarm of German soldiers with machine guns with dogs. And also another contingent of a lot of prisoners with striped clothing trying to administer the new arrivals. And the Germans started yelling at us, house, you get out of the car, get out. And so we came out on the tarmac and I looked at it and I thought I was in Germany, but I wasn't. And I said to the guys, to the prisoners there, I said, excuse me, but where am I? What place is this? And he said to me, you're in Auschwitz. And I didn't know what Auschwitz was about. Never heard of the word even. And so I said, what's Auschwitz? So he says to me, he says, well, turn around. He says, see that, look, smoke coming out of the chimney. Go down high. I look around and I see him here, black smoke coming out of the whole chimney. I said, well, what about it? He says, that's where you wind up. He says to me. And I said to him, that's crazy. What is he talking about? What do you mean, that's right? I don't know, what do you wind up there? Yeah, that's where you wind up. He says to me, you find out. And so we started getting us together before I did what he just said. Made no sense to me. So they get us up and they take us on trucks and they take us 20 hours to the Auschwitz camp itself. Now, Auschwitz was a terrible concentration camp. People had to perform all kinds of slave labor, and those that were no longer able to perform, they were burned in crematorium. That's what the black spoke out that I just saw. And in the meantime, when I came there, and I was assigned my barracks, day and night, I heard blaring, tremendous sirens and stuff, ambulances or fire truck, and I couldn't figure out why is that blaring 24/7, what's going on? I couldn't sleep. So I said to the people that were there before, I said, why are these sirens blaring all the time? What's happening? And they said they are making constant selections. For those that are able-bodied, they keep on staying in the camp to work, and those that are not able-bodied that didn't work, they cannot work. And I said to myself, oh my God, I said, is there a list? Is there some selection that you know what they're doing? What are you looking for? No, it's all random. Well, if it's random, then I'm probably next, I said to myself. At 14 years of age, or 15 years of age at that time, I was petrified to grow in I was desperate. And I said to myself, I can't stay in this place. I have to get out of here. But just no way we can get out of Auschwitz. No way. The guards are everywhere. The fences all around the camp are barbed wire, electrified. You touch it, you die. There's no way we can escape from Auschwitz. And so I didn't know what to do. And so I see on the courtyard, in the daytime, a long line of men standing there in line. So I went up to the one next in the rest of the line and I said, excuse me, but what is this line for? Are you saying for rations for food or something? And he says, no, we are trying to get selected to be taken to Germany proper to work. And I said, what kind of work is that looking for? And he said they're looking for builders in the building trade, for welders, for engineers, for mechanics, anybody in the building trade. And I said to myself, but I'm not one of those people. I don't know anything about the building trade. I'm a tailor. They don't need me. But yet I was so desperate to get out of Auschwitz. So I stayed in the line anyway. Now everybody was clean shaven, everybody looked the same, everybody had This German officer stands and makes the decisions. So I hear people ahead of me, most of them older than myself, and I could hear them say it. Ich bin ein Tischer, I'm a carpenter. Ich bin ein Schreiber, you know, I'm a welder. Everybody has a profession in the building. So they were selected to be taken to Germany proper. And they were taken away in a Palestinian area. And when my turn came, this officer, he looks at me and he starts laughing. And he says, what the hell are you doing here? You're a kid. You still got your mother's milk on your lips, he says to me. What can you do? I said, sir, I'm a carpenter. And he says, like hell, you're a carpenter. You are nobody. He says, get out of here. I don't want to see your face again. And he told me down the line, back to the Auschwitz camp. Now at that point I figured, what do I do now? And so I was mulling in my head, how do I do something to get out of this godforsaken place? And so I said to myself, you know what? Everybody looks the same. Everybody's straightforward. Everybody's clean shaven. If I could see my brother in the crowd, I couldn't recognize him because everybody looks exactly the same. Right? If that's the case, if there are hundreds and hundreds of people that he's processing, I'm going to go back the line. Maybe this time he's not going to recognize us. It took a chance. And so I went back the line. And again, when I came in front of him, he recognized me immediately. He says, I've seen you here before, you were here before, and I want you to get out of here. And if you don't, if I see you one more time, I'll kill you on the spot. And so the two guys back to Auschwitz. And now, I didn't dare to go back the third time. So now I became desperate. And I was thinking, how do I get out of this godforsaken place? And I was walking around, looking around the court, and all of a sudden, I see two burly guys with a long pole on their shoulder. One hand was one end of the pole, one shoulder and the other one from at the other end of the pole. And his shoulder in the middle was suspended a big, big bucket of soup. So I approached them and I said to the guy, I said, what are you doing? What is this? Where are you going? What is going on here? And he says, well, we are just transporting the soup from the kitchen to the holding area. But those people that were selected to go to Germany, they have to be fed, so this is the food for them. When I heard that, it's like a flash of light came to my head. And I said to myself, okay, I go right in front of this last guy, and in front of him, and I put my shoulder under the pole, and I said, you know what, we've got to be clear of us taking the soup into the holding area. And this guy came frantic. He said, you cannot do this. The Germans know there are only two of us. I said, I don't care. I said, you just let them go with you? Never mind. Because if you're going to make a big fuss, I said to him, you're going to be in trouble. You're going to draw attention to yourself. You're going to draw attention to me. You're all going to be in trouble. You just keep your mouth shut and let them walk. I took a chance. I was very brazen and very brave. And the guy was afraid to create a tumult, so he just let me go along with his breathing seat. When we came to the holding area, the gate opened, and they put out the bucket of soup. I disappeared among the crowd. Totally. And I didn't want to be seen or heard or anything because I knew that I was selected. But I was there. I was there. To be taken to Germany. And so I wound up in that area. After a few hours, after everybody was fed, after a few hours the trains came and they started loading up the people. And I said to myself, Dave, when that door opens and they start counting the people to be transported, you need to be the first one on the train. Not the last, not the second, the very first. And I did. I was the very first inside. And then it's counted. The Germans were very particular when it came to things like that. They were very exact. So they knew that 200 people that they selected. They counted them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but they took 100 person came, they closed the doors, and I could hear from inside somebody in the outside yelling, yeah, but I was selected. He was one person, the 200 person whose place I took, and he could not show. I don't know who it was. boss. I don't know his name or what it looked like, but I know I took his place, but I tried to save my life this time by escaping Auschwitz and getting to Germany. Well, here I found myself inside the car, and we were going to Germany. We were traveling for days on end. Again, the same horrendous condition. No water, no food, no elimination process. And now we couldn't eliminate because there was no toilet, there was nothing. So the elder ones in the car, they suggested to tear a plank from the floor, to tear it off, and to create a hole so that people could eliminate themselves. You know, it was just so indescribable. For many, many days we were traveling, and when we finally came to a stop, and the door flung open, we were in Germany. And when the doors flung open, we saw a lot of German soldiers, SS, with again with their dogs, with their machine guns, and yelling at us, raus, you know, out from the truck, you know. They were just chasing it out, beating us for no reason. And then when we came out, we were taken away to a cluster of concentration camps, labor camps that they built in the middle of nowhere in Germany. They took away, confiscated some fields from farmers, and they created a cluster of labor camps for men and a cluster of labor camps for women. And that place was called Calvary. Calvary was a little small city, actually, that was maybe like 20 or 30 kilometers away from the biggest city of Lodz. It was in Bavaria, in the southern part of Germany. There we were put up, there we had to work, there we were assigned slave labor, we were repairing the blown out the railroad tracks, we were working, doing bunkers for the Germans. I was chosen. We can panic again because the Allied armies all around Germany were invading already the country. Normandy already happened. We didn't know any of those things because this was background. And so when the Germans realized that they were being invaded, they began panicking to start eliminating those little camps. And they tried to take us from the camp in which we were, transport us from the south to the north to another concentration camp. And so we were emaciated, we were sick, but those remnants of us were taken away from Holocaust again and transported from the south to the north when those camps were eliminated. And on our travel, about a day into our travel, we stopped. The train stops in a very thick forest. And it doesn't go anywhere, not front and not back, just stops. It stays there for hours. And we were hugging with each other in the open car. And but half an hour, while we were sitting there, another train comes from the other side and also stops right in front of us, the opposite of us. That other train was a military train. It was visibly military. It was the air cannons. The guns cannons were sticking out, camouflage, up in the air, they couldn't be seen. That was already in 1945, spring of 1945. And as we were standing there and waiting for something to happen, guarded by so many soldiers, to be always telling us to stay in place, don't move, stay in place, until we were told to do otherwise. And so as we were happening, as we don't know what was happening in the middle of the day, all the Huns appeared and our number of planes, I don't know, 10, 15, I don't know how many, attack planes, descended all the two trains. The pilots from the air elevated saw the military train, there were all these air cannons shooting out, and they were attacking us, swooping down, and began machine gunning both trains indiscriminately. Another mayhem, and people in front of me were dying from bullets coming from the back, and we were panicking. So I said to my friend, and I realized in front of me. I said, let's jump over the roof, let's jump over the cattle car into the forest and save ourselves. So we did. We jumped over. And as we were jumping, the Germans were yelling at us that if we keep on jumping, they're going to shoot us. And I said to my friend, do I care how I die from a German bullet from the German bullet coming from this side or from a bullet from the air? I said, let's save ourselves. So we jumped into the forest. And many other prisoners saw this, and they also jumped in, those that survived. And the pilots from the air evidently noticed that a lot of prisoners with sharp clothes are there. They realized that not both trains are military, that one is not. And so they stopped the onslaught and they moved away. And we found ourselves in the forest. We stayed in that forest for 3 days and 3 nights. All the trains, both our train and the other train, were a lot of locusts were on fire. Nobody could fly anywhere. We found out later why they were standing there, because the bridges on both sides, going coming, they were all bombarded and destroyed. That's why they stood. But anyway, we found ourselves in the forest. And we stayed in the forest for 3 days and 3 nights. And the Germans would guard us all the time. And after the 3rd night, we woke up, all wet, because it was raining there, and we were hugging up against each other, this tin blankets is all we had on us. The 3rd night we wake up, and I hear the elder ones among the prisoners yelling, hey guys, there are no Germans, they're all gone. We couldn't find Bavaria, they're all gone. And we couldn't understand, we were mystery, we couldn't get gone. Where did they go? And they were just here last night, they're all gone. And so we look around and they were all gone. And so now we couldn't understand what happened because we still didn't know what's happening on the outside of us. There was no news. We didn't know what the situation was, but we knew what we saw. So now we found ourselves without any guards. It's like, sheep without a shepherd. We didn't know what we were doing. We didn't know where we were. And so the other ones suggested that, hey, since we are totally unsupervised, the Germans have gone, we are on our own, let's take a military training for food. We did. And there were indeed a lot of food there in the military, but they were all in cans, in wooden cans, and we had no means to open those cans. So the people were desperate, so emaciated, so hungry, they were trying to bend the cans against the rocks, against the trees, against any object they could, to try to tie it over them. And some of them actually succeeded, and those that succeeded, they ate the food, and that food turned out to be sheer poison for these people, because they were so emaciated, their bodies were not ready to digest this heavy military rations, especially coal, water, grease, and all kinds of heavy stuff. They died from it because it was poison. I was very lucky. I had also a few cans. I couldn't open it up, and that was the problem. And I said to my friends that were with me, to other young men, I said, you know what? We can't open it up, we have no means, so we'll do it some other time, let's take it with us. And so we decided among ourselves, the elders suggested that we form little groups, we cannot stay here in this forest forever, let's form little groups, and let's set out in the countryside and look for somebody that we may find along the way to ask what to do next, or what to turn on, or what, because we were bewildered. And so me and my 2 friends, 3 of us, we set out in the countryside. And after about an hour walk, we saw a tree outline in the horizon. I saw this like a hut or a roof of some house. And I said to my friends, if you look straight ahead on the horizon, you will see this outline. It looks like a roof. Maybe there is a house there. Let's go towards that area. So we did. And we trekked forward. And about a half an hour on our walk, when we came closer, we realized that you got into a hornet's nest. The entire area was swarming with military, the German military, with tanks and soldiers. Oh my God. Now, and you know what? As we came closer, they spotted us. The border patrol spotted us, and he was yelling at us. You tried again. Stop, don't go any further. And so he comes closer, and he says to me, what's not to do here? What are you doing? And so I told him what happened. We got attacked, and the Germans left us, the guards left us, we were on our own, we were just looking for instructions what to do next. He says, friend took us in, me and my brother. We are coming in, and there was this huge, big, fat German general, I guess, with sort of metal, decorated, and he looks at me very sternly, and he says to me, he says, in German, he says, "Verfluchter Mann, was macht denn hier? God damn it, what are you doing here? And who are you?" And so I told him, I said, "Sir," I said, "this is not my own story." He says, "You're coming in black." I said, "I can help this to me. You cannot remain here. This is a military area." I said, "Sir, what do you suggest to me? What do you suggest we do?" And he said, "You have to go back where you came from." So we go back where we came from. There's no choice. And as we walk away, about 10 minutes of our walking away from the farmhouse, we hear a man yelling at us from the farm. Hi, Piggy, Peter, Burschen, Black Shimmy. Boys, stop, don't go any further." And so he comes running towards us. So it's a civilian man, an older man. Turned out he was the farmer of the farmhouse, the farmer himself. And he says to me, he says, "Listen," he says, "these Germans, soldiers, they're not remaining. This is the front is very near. They're leaving momentarily. You come with me to my farm. I'll put you up. I'll set you up so you'll be safe. And when they leave, you stay in my farm until something happens." Because boys, he says, as far as I know, the war is coming to an end. That was the first words I heard like that. And I didn't believe I heard. So he took us into the farm. We stood there for a few days. The German soldiers left indeed, and he told us that he's going to put us up, for the time being, in one of those barns. We didn't say it was a farmhouse, but one of those barns. And he says, "We have outside toilets, we have outside showers, you can take a shower, we will give you some new underwear, we will give you a place where you can sleep in a decent place, they pick up some clothing beds for us, they make us nothing but easy." And they leave brought us some underwear, and all of a sudden it's like feeling like human again, A few hours after that, the farmer's wife comes in with a big tray of freshly baked donuts with hot milk. I mean, she's serving us stuff. She said, "Oh my God," I said, "I couldn't eat that food for 6 years already." So anyway, we were liberated on that farm, and the American soldiers came and occupied the area, and we were liberated by a battalion of black American soldiers, all black American soldiers, and we couldn't communicate with them. And that is the very first time in my life at that point that I saw a black person, because in Europe, we didn't have that yet. So the only black people I knew about is what I read in my school books, not like I said, with the reason they noticed. But here were black American soldiers. They were wonderful, they were courteous, they were trying to communicate with us. We couldn't. They only spoke English. I spoke several languages, but none of them that they spoke. And so, in my frustration, not being able to communicate with them, all of a sudden in the middle, from the rows, comes out this old, sweaty, black officer, straight towards me, towards us three boys. And he says to us, in unadulterated English, he says, "You boys, are you English?" And we were like stunned. He speaks English to us. And I said, "Why, yes," he says, "but my God," I said, "you're an American soldier. How do you speak English?" And he says, "I'm from Brooklyn." I didn't know Brooklyn was Madagascar, that time. But okay. So he took us out of his rooms, and he took us away from the farm, and he took us out of the transit camp where the American government was set up, and we were liberated at that point. Thank you very much.
First of all, on behalf of the 8th grade students and High Desert, we just want to say thank you so much for giving us your time and coming here to speak to all of us. This is something very special, and we realize that.
Thank you.
My question. My question
Yeah.
is, so we want to hear more of the story. We want to know what happened from the time you were liberated until coming to the United States. So,
You want me to give you the short version of it real quick?
yes, thank
Real
you.
quick, my father-in-law was, after they were liberated by the American Army, Sweden took in refugees. He was transported to Sweden, was in a refugee camp in Sweden. Sweden was very amenable to assimilating those Jews from Eastern Europe. That's where he met his wife. 2 of his children were born, which is, my wife was born in Sweden, in Helsingborg. He pursued his trade, which was to be a clothes designer and tailor. But he always knew that he'd like to go to the United States because he just felt that in the United States there were economic opportunities and opportunities for him. They went through the process, came to the United States, and wound up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Had a 3rd daughter, my sister-in-law, Barbara. And from there, produced a life of optimism. If you know anybody that is a Holocaust survivor, they take usually 2 paths. One of depression and woe. My father-in-law is not that. He's absolutely the opposite, taking an opportunity to basically make the best of his life, provide for his family, have children. And by the way, the happiness part of the story is that he did get reunited with his father. He found his father afterward. Yes?
How did you find your father?
That's a really long story, but
It goes by itself.
through a contact who...
For a third person.
Yeah. My father-in-law has a very unusual name. It's Lenga, L-E-N-G-A. There are not very many Lengas in the world, and he keeps looking for more and more to see who survived the war. And someone said, you know what? I think there is a gentleman by the name of Lenga who's living in Israel, and so that's how he got reunited. I am a former 8th grade teacher, okay? I taught for many, many years back east, 8th grade science, and here, my father-in-law, speaking for my father-in-law and myself, are very appreciative of your time and for your cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you.